Chapter 7. Hello again. Today we will talk about reading in English. Reading is a fun way to improve your language skills. It helps you learn new words, understand how sentences are built, and improve your grammar. When I first started learning English, reading was one of the hardest things for me. The words were new, and the sentences seemed long and difficult. But I didn't stop. I started reading simple books, and little by little, I got better. The best way to start reading in English is with easy books. Look for books made for beginners or children. These books use simple words and short sentences. They are perfect for learning. At first, try to read for fun, not to understand every word. Pick a story you like. Even if you don't know all the words, just keep going. Focus on the main idea. If you understand the story, that's enough. You can also read websites or apps for beginners. There are many sites that offer easy English articles. These can be short and interesting. Read one article a day. This will help you learn new words without feeling overwhelmed. Don't be afraid to look up new words. If you don't know a word, find out what it means. You can use a dictionary or translation app. Write the new word in your notebook. This will help you remember it. Another tip is to read out loud. When you read out loud, you practice pronunciation and get better at speaking. It also helps your brain remember what you read. Try to read for at least 10 minutes every day. You don't have to read long books at first. Start with short stories, articles, or even comic books. The goal is to read regularly. The more you read, the better your English will become. When you are ready, try reading longer books. Start with books for teenagers or young adults. These books are a little harder but still fun. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just keep reading, and over time, you will get better. As you read, pay attention to the sentences. Try to notice how they are built. For example, where is the subject? Where is the verb? This will help you understand how English grammar works. You can also read newspapers or magazines in English. These are great for learning new vocabulary, especially if you want to learn about different topics. Choose articles that interest you. This will make reading more enjoyable. One of the best ways to learn from reading is to keep a reading journal. After you finish reading something, write about it in English. It can be just a few sentences. Write what you liked, what you didn't understand, or any new words you learned. This will help you remember what you read and practice your writing. You can also reread the same book or article. The second time, you will understand more. This will help you improve faster. Repetition is a great way to learn. If you find a book that you really like, try to read it many times. The more you read it, the more you will understand. You will also start to remember new words. Reading with a purpose is important. Before you start reading, think about what you want to learn. Do you want to learn new vocabulary? Do you want to practice understanding the main idea? Having a goal will make your reading more focused and helpful. Try to read different types of books. Read stories, news, science articles, or even cookbooks. The more variety you have, the more words you will learn. Plus, reading different topics will help you become a more well-rounded reader. It's also helpful to read and listen at the same time. Find an audiobook of a book you are reading. Listen to it while reading the text. This will help you hear the pronunciation of words and understand the meaning better. Remember, Reading should be fun. If you enjoy what you are reading, it will not feel like work. Pick books, articles, or stories that you find interesting. When you enjoy reading, it will be easier to keep going. If you don't understand something, don't give up. Look up the word or sentence. Ask someone for help. Over time, your understanding will grow. One way to make reading easier is to break it into small parts. Don't try to read a whole book in one day. Read one chapter or one page at a time. This will make it feel less overwhelming. Reading in English will help you learn more about how people speak and write. You will see how native speakers use words, phrases, and expressions. This will help you sound more natural when you speak. Another great way to practice reading is by reading aloud with a friend. You can take turns reading a paragraph or page. This will help you practice speaking and understanding at the same time. As you get better at reading, you will feel more confident. You will understand more, and it will become easier. Keep challenging yourself with harder books, but don't forget to read what you enjoy. Finally, remember that it's okay to read slowly. Learning English takes time, and it's important to be patient with yourself. The more you read, the more your skills will improve. Reading is one of the best ways to learn. Keep reading every day, and you will become a stronger English speaker. Don't stop. Keep going. You're doing great. Chapter 8. Hello, everyone. Today, let's talk about writing in English. Writing is a powerful way to improve your language skills. It helps you organize your thoughts and practice new words. When I started learning English, writing was hard for me. I didn't know how to write long sentences or use the right grammar, but with practice, I got better. Now, writing helps me feel confident in my English skills. The best way to start writing is by keeping it simple. Don't worry about writing perfect sentences. Write short and clear sentences first. You can always improve later. Start by writing about things you know. Write about your day, your family, or your favorite food. It's easier to write when you are talking about something you like. You can also start a journal. Every day, write a few sentences about what happened. It doesn't matter if your sentences are short or not perfect. The goal is to practice. Write about what you did, how you felt, or anything that is interesting to you. When I started writing, I used simple words. I didn't worry about using big words. Simple words are good enough. The key is to be clear and share your thoughts. You can also write letters or emails to your friends. Write in English as much as you can. This will help you practice, and your friends will understand. If you make mistakes, they will still understand. Writing to others is a fun way to practice. Another tip is to make writing a habit. Write a little bit every day. You can write about anything you want. Write a description of your favorite movie or a place you want to visit. It doesn't have to be long, just a few sentences. Try to write more than just one sentence. Practice writing full paragraphs. For example, if you are writing about your day, write 3 or 4 sentences, not just one. This will help you practice organizing your thoughts. If you don't know how to spell a word, don't worry. You can use a dictionary or a translation app. But remember, the more you write, the better you will get at spelling. Try not to use a dictionary every time. This will help you remember the words. After you write something, read it over. This will help you find mistakes. If you find a mistake, fix it. If you are unsure, ask someone to help you. Learning from your mistakes will make you better. You can also practice writing short stories. Write about a fun adventure or a special day in your life. This will help you practice using more words and creating longer sentences. Another good idea is to use writing prompts. A writing prompt is a sentence or question that helps you think of ideas. For example, a prompt might be, "What is your favorite place and why?" This can help you get started when you don't know what to write about. One thing that helped me was reading what I wrote out loud. It helped me see if my sentences sounded good. If something didn't sound right, I changed it. Reading aloud will help you hear the flow of your writing. Don't be afraid to make mistakes in your writing. Everyone makes mistakes. The important thing is to keep writing. You will get better with time. You can also write short paragraphs about what you read or listen to in English. This helps you practice understanding and writing at the same time. After reading a short story or article, write a few sentences about it. When you write, try to use new words you learn. This will help you remember them. For example, if you learn the word beautiful, try to use it in your writing. It will help you remember the word and how to use it. If you feel stuck, take a break and come back later. Sometimes, walking away for a little while can help you think of new ideas. It's okay if you don't finish your writing in one sitting. Another way to improve your writing is to look at other people's writing. Read books, articles, or even social media posts in English. Notice how sentences are formed and how words are used. This will give you ideas for your own writing. You can also ask someone to read what you wrote and give feedback. They can help you see where you can improve. Don't be afraid of feedback. It will help you get better. When you feel more confident, try writing essays. Write about a topic you are interested in. Start with short essays and then try longer ones. This will help you practice writing more organized and detailed thoughts. Remember, writing takes time. It's okay if you don't write perfectly at first. Keep practicing, and you will improve. A good way to improve your writing is to set small goals. For example, today, you can try writing a paragraph about your family. Tomorrow, you can write about your favorite hobby. Setting goals will help you keep improving. Writing helps you become better at speaking too. When you write, you think about how to use the language. This makes it easier to speak in English. Writing and speaking go hand in hand. One important tip is to stay patient. Writing in a new language takes time. Don't expect to be perfect right away. Celebrate your progress. Every sentence you write is a step toward being better. Keep a writing routine. Write every day, even if it's just a few sentences. The more you write, the easier it will become. Writing in English is like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger your writing will be. Writing is a great way to improve your English. Don't give up. The more you practice, the better you will get. Keep writing, and you will see how much you improve. Keep it up. Chapter 9. Hello again. Today we will talk about speaking English with confidence. Speaking can feel hard at first, but don't worry, you are not alone. Everyone starts somewhere. The good news is you can improve with practice. When I first began speaking English, I felt nervous. I was afraid of making mistakes. My heart would beat fast, and I didn't want to speak. But I learned that speaking is the best way to improve. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. One way to build confidence is to speak slowly. When you speak slowly, you have time to think about your words. Don't try to speak fast. It's more important to be clear. Take your time, and don't worry if it's not perfect. Start by speaking to yourself. When you are alone, practice saying simple sentences. You can talk about what you did that day, or describe something in the room. This helps you feel more comfortable with speaking. If you can, find a friend to practice with. Speaking with someone else is a great way to improve. You can practice everyday conversations. For example, you can ask and answer simple questions like, "How are you?" or "What did you do today?" If you don't have a friend to practice with, you can speak to your phone. There are apps that let you practice speaking and help with pronunciation. You can also record yourself speaking. When you listen to the recording, you can hear what you need to improve. It's also a good idea to practice speaking English in real situations. For example, try ordering food in English when you go to a restaurant, or ask for directions if you are in a place where people speak English. The more you speak in real situations, the more confident you will feel. Don't worry about making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. If you say something wrong, don't get upset. Just keep going. The important thing is to keep practicing. You will learn from your mistakes and get better. Remember, you don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to communicate. People will understand you, even if your grammar is not perfect. What matters is that you are trying, and that's how you learn. Another way to practice is by repeating what you hear. For example, when you listen to a conversation in English, try to repeat what they say. This helps you practice pronunciation and helps you learn new words. If you want to sound more natural, try to learn common phrases and expressions. For example, instead of saying, "I don't know," you can say, "I'm not sure." These small changes can make you sound more like a native speaker. When you speak, try to relax. If you feel nervous, take a deep breath. Smile and remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes. Relaxing will help you speak more clearly and confidently. One tip is to speak with your hands. Using gestures when you speak helps you explain things better. For example, when you talk about something big, you can use your hands to show size. This will make your conversation more interesting. You can also watch TV shows or movies in English. Pay attention to how people speak. Notice how they use their voice and body language. Try to copy what they do. This will help you speak more naturally. When you practice speaking, try to listen to yourself. After you speak, listen to how you sound. Are there any words that are hard to say? Do you need to work on pronunciation? Listening to yourself will help you see what you need to improve. Another great way to practice is by talking to people online. There are websites where you can talk to people from all over the world. You can practice English with them and learn from their feedback. This is a great way to practice speaking in a relaxed, friendly environment. Sometimes you may feel like you don't have enough words to speak. This is okay. You don't need to know all the words. Use the words you know and try to explain things in a different way. If you don't know a word, try describing it. For example, if you don't know the word butterfly, you can say, It's an insect with colorful wings. People will understand you, and you will learn new ways to speak. Remember to listen when others speak. Listening is just as important as speaking. It will help you understand how to use words and phrases. It will also teach you how people talk in real situations. If you feel nervous, try to remember why you are learning English. You are learning to communicate with others. Speaking in English opens up new opportunities. You can meet people, make new friends, and travel to new places. Keep your goal in mind, and that will help you feel more confident. One last thing. Celebrate your progress. Every time you speak, you are getting better. Don't focus on the mistakes. Focus on how far you have come. Be proud of your progress, no matter how small it seems. In conclusion, speaking with confidence comes with practice. Start by speaking slowly and clearly. Practice with friends or even by yourself. Don't worry about mistakes and always try to relax. Over time, you will become more confident, and speaking English will feel easier. So, keep practicing. The more you speak, the more confident you will become. Keep going, and soon you will speak English with confidence and ease. Chapter 10. Hello, everyone. In this chapter, we will talk about listening. Listening is a very important part of learning English. When you listen, you learn new words, phrases, and even how to speak naturally. It's a great way to improve your language skills. When I started learning English, I found listening to be difficult. It was hard to understand what people were saying. But over time, I realized that listening is one of the best ways to learn. The more you listen, the better you will understand. The first tip is to start with things you like. If you enjoy watching movies, watch them in English. Choose movies with subtitles so you can read along. At first, you might not understand everything, but that's okay. The more you listen, the more you will understand. Another great way to improve your listening is by listening to music. Listen to songs in English. Try to understand the lyrics. It's okay if you don't understand every word. Focus on getting the main idea. If you can, look up the lyrics online and follow along. Podcasts are also a great tool. There are many podcasts in English on different topics. Find a podcast that interests you. Listen to it every day. You can start with short podcasts and then move to longer ones. Over time, your listening will improve. When you listen, don't worry if you don't understand everything at first. It's normal. What's important is to keep listening. Try to catch the words you know. Even if you don't understand the whole sentence, you can still learn from the words you recognize. You can also listen to the news in English. News stations often speak clearly and slowly, making it easier to follow. Choose simple news stories that are easy to understand. After listening, try to summarize what you heard in your own words. This will help you remember what you learned. One of the best ways to improve your listening is by repeating what you hear. For example, after listening to a sentence, try to say it out loud. This helps you get used to how words sound and helps with pronunciation. Don't be afraid to pause and replay things. If you don't understand something, stop and listen again. Sometimes, listening a second time can help you understand better. You can also try slowing down the speed if you're using an app or listening to a podcast. This makes it easier to catch every word. Try to listen to different types of English. There are many different accents and ways of speaking in English. For example, English in the UK sounds different from English in the USA or Australia. Try listening to speakers from different countries. This will help you understand English in many different ways. When you listen, focus on the sounds of the words. English words can sound different depending on where they are in a sentence. For example, the word can sounds different in I can help you and can you help me? Pay attention to these small details. Another good idea is to watch TV shows in English. Choose shows with simple language, like cartoons or children's shows. They often use easy words and speak clearly. As you listen, pay attention to how people talk to each other. This will help you learn useful phrases. Listening to conversations in English is also helpful. You can watch videos of people talking to each other. Try to listen to how they ask questions, give answers, and start conversations. This will teach you how to speak naturally, just like in real life. You can also join online language exchange groups. These are groups where you can listen to people speaking English and practice speaking with them. Talking to people who are also learning English can help you feel more comfortable and less nervous. One thing that helped me was listening while doing other things. For example, I would listen to podcasts while cleaning or cooking. This made listening feel natural and less stressful. It's like practicing without even thinking about it. When you listen to something in English, try to understand the main idea. Don't worry too much about every word. Focus on the meaning of the whole sentence. With practice, you will be able to understand more and more. If you don't understand something, don't be discouraged. Keep listening. Over time, you will start to catch more words and phrases. It's important to be patient. You will improve, even if it feels slow at times. Remember to practice every day. The more you listen, the faster you will improve. Set aside time each day to listen to English. Even just 15 minutes a day can make a big difference. Try to listen to different things each day to keep it interesting. Another way to practice is by listening to audiobooks. Audiobooks are great because you can listen to a story while also following along with the text. This helps you understand how words are spoken and how sentences are formed. If you feel like you're not understanding enough, don't worry. The more you practice, the better you will get. Listening is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. In conclusion, listening is an important part of learning English. Don't worry if you don't understand everything at first. Just keep practicing. Listen to music, podcasts, TV shows, and conversations. The more you listen, the better you will become. Keep going, and you'll see improvement. Listening is the key to understanding and speaking better English. Keep listening every day, and soon you'll be able to understand English easily. Most of you guys find speaking the most difficult part of learning English, so we decided to create this big, long video talking about the aspects of spoken English. What do you do if you forget a word? How to speak fast and sound more natural. How not to be afraid of speaking English when you talk to a native speaker. And how to practice English if you have no one to practice with. Watch this video because it's going to help you stop worrying and start speaking English. I am afraid to speak English. People will laugh at me. What if I start a conversation with a native speaker and I suddenly forget words? What if I just can't support a conversation? Like I won't be able to use my English. I have so many fears. What should I do? Hey guys, welcome to Bookish English. Today, we're going to talk about those questions that arise in your head whenever you are, confronted with a situation to speak to a native speaker in English. I just want to say, first of all, I'm pretty sure you've heard that many times, that it's just all in your head. But I know we need to kind of dig deeper and talk about your fears because I had those fears. Like, even now, when I speak German, because I'm a perfectionist, I get very nervous because I know I make mistakes, and I know I forget words, and I know everything like this happens, and my face turns red, and I just, and it actually starts happening. Like, when I'm relaxed, my German is a lot better. Like, if I'm in an environment just talking to friends or just talking to someone at a store, it would be like really smooth language. When I start thinking oh my God. This is one of the reasons I stopped recording videos about German, just because it's been declining and I have those fears. But I also have them in English. But with English, I understood that English is a tool. It's an instrument that I use to improve my life. And without it, I won't be able to achieve my new goals. I won't be able to get to new levels of whatever, YouTube, of my company's development. So today I'm going to start with fear number 1. People are going to laugh at me. The only time I've been laughed at, in terms of my English is, when, left in real life. Like, I get mocked about my accent a lot on social media, but it happens because I get hundreds of thousands of views, and I understand that even kittens get dislikes on YouTube, and there will be people who are unhappy with whatever I'm doing. And just because I'm doing it, they will be posting bad comments and hating me for whatever I do. But I also understand sometimes it's actually good to have that feedback because people tell me, "Oh, Marina, that was wrong. That phrase was incorrect." But they're not laughing at me. They're telling me how to improve, and I accept that with gratitude. So, the only time I've been laughed at actually happened when I was talking to my friend. And, I told him I was so hooked up with this person. Like, I wanted to say that we were really connected with a person, but I used a phrasal verb, to hook up with someone. And it actually means have a sexual relationship. And this is not what it was, not what I meant. And another time, it happened recently on Instagram. I came to a butcher store, and I posted a story that I missed his meat. And meat, in American conversational English, when you say, I missed his meat, means I missed his penis. And again, people laughed at me, but I thought it was funny. Like, it's not like, and it was like DMS. People, oh my God, Marina, do you know it has a second meaning? And it's not like they are angry at me for making that mistake. It was like, a friendly advice. So I've never ever had people in real life laugh at me say, "Oh my God, your English is so bad. What are you doing here?" Never ever happened in my life. And I started practicing English at the age of 14, and I was hanging out with really mean, teenagers can be really mean, and they can tell really bad things in your face. But never has that ever happened to me because people understand that I'm making an effort to be understood. They understand that I come from a completely different culture and that I've never spoken English to my parents or to my grandparents. So, the only exception here is social media. Like if you're speaking English on social media, just be ready to get those hate comments. And even if you're perfect in English, even if you're 120 out of 120 on TOEFL, and you post a video on how you got that score, you would still, if it goes viral, you would still get comments from people, "It's impossible, your English is not good enough," etc. There would always be people on social media hating you. But in real life, there's this tiny chance it's gonna happen. But it's not gonna happen, guys. Native speakers, especially Americans, especially British people, are very friendly. In real life, people who I met, people who I talked to in English, even when I was intermediate, they were really friendly and really supportive. So, it's all in our heads. And I think if you have this fear in English, people would laugh at you, you probably have it in other aspects of your life. So, it's just another reason for you to sit down with yourself and think about, I don't have to be liked by everyone. And again, I am a person who has this feeling all the time. I want to be liked by everyone. I want it. I'm fighting this. Once I started my channels, I realized I can't be liked by everyone. But it was really hurting me every time I read something negative about myself. And it took me a while to understand and to realize that my goal is to use my talents, to grow as an entrepreneur, YouTuber, whatever, as a mom, and do the best that I can. What other people think about me, it's other people's business. They have their own understanding of reality. They have their own experience. Maybe they just have a bad day, but it doesn't have anything to do with me. If you want to dig deeper into this problem, I really advise you to read a book, The Courage to be Disliked. It's like one of those books that I started reading last year. I think last year I had this, personality crisis. But I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. I'm afraid to do this because people would comment, and they would be unhappy with what I do. And I started just doing a lot of psychological research, and I started reading a lot of books. And that was one of the books that really, really helped me. It just talks about how you can't control other people's emotions. You can't control what they think of you. What you have to do is focus on what you can do the best. Focus on your goals and start and achieve them. Another thing I could recommend, watch the one on Netflix. It talks just about this woman entrepreneur who's a little ruthless. And she's not like a role model that I want you to follow, but it just talks about how she deals with all the problems that arise. When I was thinking, if I were in her place, I would have definitely given up, but she continued going. I really encourage you to read those books, to watch the one on Netflix, and to just read interviews related to this topic, because this would help you in your life in general, not just with English. Of course, you will realize that, the majority of people won't laugh at you. And if they will, it is their problem, not your problem. You're doing your best. You're practicing your English. You are putting effort into being understood by people who don't even speak your language and don't even make an effort to learn your language. Okay, psychology class is over. Let's move on to some practical advice regarding other things that you can do. So, there is another fear. What if the conversation gets too complicated and I won't be able to support it? I also get this fear. Like, for example, again, I can't really relate to this in English right now because my language is pretty, I would say, pretty advanced to talk about all kinds of topics. But with German, I can totally relate. And when people start asking me about business, I understand that I will start a conversation. I will talk about my company. But if they start digging deeper, I would be like, oh my God, this is too complicated. And in 2018, I had to have a surgery in Germany. And I was surprised I was actually able to communicate with doctors and nurses about medical stuff. Because basically, when we talk about English, we have 1,000 words that make up 86% of the conversation. And what you really need to know, if you know those 1,000 words, if you go into a specific conversation, you can always ask for definitions of, like, specific words. So it was in Germany, during that surgery, I was like, oh, and what is this in German? I can say that in English, or I can show you on Google. And once I learned, like, 5 or 7 words that I needed that were related to that surgery, the conversation became really easy. Because you don't need to know, like, the whole idea of surgery medical business vocabulary to support an advanced conversation. All you need is those 1,000 words. And also, if you're like, oh, I don't know how many words I know right now, this doesn't actually matter. If you understand this video, that means you know enough words to support a conversation. So start practicing. And if you forget a word, if you don't know the term, if you forget a word, you can just Google it on your phone with Google Translate and show your party this word, and you will be totally fine. And this is, by the way you learn this word really fast. Another question is, what if I feel shy? What if I stop and freeze? Okay, this can happen as well if you are too nervous about the conversation. The trick that helps me a lot is to pretend that you're someone else. Because again, stopping and freezing has to do something with what's going on with you internally. Like maybe you're, again, thinking that people are gonna laugh at you, and just there are so many thoughts in your head that you can't just process them. So imagine that you're a different person. You probably, if you're speaking to a native speaker, you're probably in a new country. Nobody knows you. And once this conversation is over, you will part ways with this person. So, try to pretend you're your favorite movie character. Try to pretend you're an American if you're in America. Try to pretend that you are this famous blogger that you really, really like. I don't know. Try to pretend to be someone else just for this conversation. It just lets your fears go, and it helps you become more confident when you speak. What if I offend someone? That's another fear. And one thing I wanted to remember here is that when we talk to a person, people pay attention to our body language, to our facial expressions, to our emotions, and even if you say something incorrectly in English, they would understand you didn't really mean it. And also, they would understand. Like, if they tell you about something and you, like, don't understand, but you just say yes, a lot of times people will tell you, but you didn't understand, right? And they would explain in another way. It's okay to say, oh, I didn't mean that, sorry. Was that offensive because my English is not good enough? It's okay. But if you're smiling, if you're open, then people will understand 100% that you didn't mean to offend them. That it was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. That is something that we're used to in our culture, or you mixed up the word. People would understand. Now, let's wrap up this video with a couple of tips. If you have an important conversation in English coming up, maybe you have an interview with a university, or I remember when we were preparing for the Y Combinator interview, it's an accelerator here in Silicon Valley. The worst mistake that you can do is actually overthink. It makes sense to prepare. It makes sense to go through questions that were asked before in this kind of environment, like go through questions that universities ask during the interview, go through questions that people are normally asked, etc. But I would say, take your time, prepare for 2 hours, but don't take too long. Because when it takes too long, when it takes days, we over-prepared for a Y Combinator interview, and instead of relaxing before it, instead of just catching the vibe of Silicon Valley, we were just brainstorming how we were going to fight that small company that is trying to do the same thing, and people there didn't even know about it. Now, when I look back at it, it's important to know what you're talking about, like to tell your story, to tell why you're interested in this or that university, this or that subject. But don't overthink. Like, they would probably ask basic questions, or if they ask some complicated questions, it is almost impossible to predict what they're going to ask. So, learn some basic things, but then let yourself relax. Watch something in English. Just put yourself into that environment before the conversation or before the test so that your brain switches from your language into English. It will be a lot easier. The next tip, be nervous and do it anyway. Michael Jordan once said, "Being nervous isn't bad. It just means something important is happening." So, my tip here, and I did an interview with Justin Kahn on Silicon Valley Girl, and he said, don't be afraid of your emotions. Don't suppress them. Tell yourself, okay, I am nervous about this conversation I'm going to have in English. It is fine. I understand that I'm nervous because it is an important conversation. I understand that my English is maybe not good enough, and I haven't practiced a lot. But I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm going to use this conversation as practice. And after the conversation, I'm going to sit down and think what was good and what was bad. I was really bad at, analyzing things afterwards because I'm this perfectionist. And when I shoot a video, I don't want to see it just because I understand I could have done better. And this is an endless process, but I actually taught myself to look at numbers. I taught myself to actually sit down and think what I did wrong and what could be done better. And it helps a lot with your progression. So, after the conversation, sit down with yourself and think, did I do everything I could do? And if not, just have some tips for yourself for the next conversation. And I have this note in my iPhone where I just put in things that I could do better in my videos. And, I have those tips that I always look at before an important video and just remind myself that I make those mistakes. It is okay. It's good that I know about them, and I'm going to be better in the next video. The next tip, do it until it feels normal. Just keep having those conversations in English. Keep being shy. Keep being nervous. At some stage, you're going to be tired of it, especially if you're in an English-speaking country or if you're applying to universities. I have a lot of people here in the US who are applying to universities, mostly children of my friends.